Okay, hopefully we're good. Sorry, you guys. Technical difficulties. Apparently, my Wi-Fi does not want to work right now. Okay, so hopefully the video will just continue. And just a quick reintroduction in case you missed it. I am Tiffany Thomas, and I help individuals achieve financial freedom through wealth building strategies. So super excited to start doing Wealth Wisdom Wednesdays with you guys. And we're going to just try it out this month and see how it goes. So if you do have questions that you want answered, then post them underneath this video or send me an email to tiffany@wealthytiffany.com and I can answer them on the next video. So I have a few questions that I've received so far, and I'm just going to do a little intro on what I'm going to talk about today and then go ahead and answer those questions. So I'm super excited to do this with you guys, and I hope you find it really helpful because I want to talk about things that you want to talk about, that you have questions about, right? Okay, so what we are going to talk about today is we're going to talk a little bit about the new law that was passed, that Trump passed, his tax law. And we are going to talk about having rental properties under an LLC, whether or not to do that. And then we're going to talk about whether or how to start wealth building. Like, where do you begin with that? Where do you start? And then we're going to talk about mindset. So those are the four main things that we're going to be discussing today. And if you have comments as we are going throughout, please post them in there. Or like I said, if you have questions, post them in there. And if it's related, I can answer it, or I can do it on next week's video. So we are just going to dive in. So one of the questions that I received was, just a question about Trump's new tax law and in regards to rental properties and, property tax or mortgage interest. So I just want to kind of highlight three main changes that have happened with that new law. So in general, rental properties, if you already have rental properties and they have a net income, that's already after amortization and depreciation. So if you have net income, then you'll receive a 20% deduction on that net income. And, I want you to just keep in mind that this deduction does not apply to service businesses. So unless the taxpayers who own the service business has a total taxable income less than $157,500 if you're single, and it's $315,000 if you're married and filing jointly. So if that is the case, if you have less than that amount, then you'll receive the 20% deduction on your qualified business income. So that's just one change that's happened. So if you have an income on your rental properties, then you'll receive a 20% deduction on that net income. And it doesn't apply to service businesses unless your service business is less than $157,500 for single people or $315,000 for married people that are filing jointly. So that's one point of the new tax law. And then also standard deductions have increased. So single and married taxpayers can claim $12,000 to $24,000 and $24,000, so respectively. So single taxpayers can claim $12,000, and then those that are married can claim $24,000. And this is nearly double of what it was before. So the existing standard deduction, it was $4,050 beforehand. So it's over double what it was before. So unfortunately, then, most taxpayers are not going to optimize or itemize their deductions because that is so much higher. So $12,000 and $24,000 instead of that $4,000. So it's kind of it's a disadvantage for those with multiple dependents as well. So that is another thing that has changed. And then also, so itemized deductions, there's no change on rental properties, but there is change for primary and secondary residences. So if you, for you that are that are living in your primary residence, or if you have a secondary residence, kind of like a vacation home or something, that's still your own property. You're not renting it. You're not using it as a rental. The rental property owners can still deduct business expenses from the rental properties. So there's no change on that part. But for primary and secondary residences, that's where the impact is. So, and this started December 15th of last year, so it's already in effect. Owners can deduct mortgage interest on the initial $750,000 of a newly acquired debt. But unless the proceeds for that are used to purchase or improve rental properties, then home equity debt cannot be deducted. So hopefully that makes sense. So there's no changes on rentals, right? But for primary and secondary residences, owners can deduct mortgage interest on the initial $750,000 of a newly acquired debt. But unless the proceeds are used to purchase or improve rental properties, then the home equity debt cannot be deducted. So those are the main changes that I wanted to point out with the tax law. And I'm not, a tax accountant or anything like that. So definitely, do your own research. But those are the three main things that I've seen that are different in regards to rental properties and to your standard deductions. So I just wanted to cover that. So hopefully that answers your question. And if it doesn't, you can post beneath and let me know. So let's move to the next question that we had. And this one was whether or not to have your rental under an LLC. So my thoughts on this, it kind of depends on your goals and where you are right now and even what state you're in, because there's so many factors that come into play. So what I currently do is I do not have mine under an LLC right now. And I have thought about doing that, but right now I only have 2 rental properties so far and then just my own property. So I don't have a ton of properties. And so I've just chosen to not put it under an LLC. And the reason I've chosen to do it that way is because there is an extra cost to set up an LLC. And you can also protect yourself without having an LLC by just setting up an umbrella insurance policy. So you can put your properties under that, and that's not too expensive. And so, depending on where you're at with your rentals, if you have a bunch, for example, I have a friend that, I don't know, he probably has like 40 rentals or something. He has a crazy amount, right? So his are definitely under an LLC, which is great because that's a lot to manage on your own, to have under your own name. So that makes complete sense, to have that many properties under an LLC. So if you do have that many properties, or that's your goal to, have a lot of properties, then it could be a good idea to set them up under an LLC, and, that will protect you. But like I said, if you only have a couple of properties, then maybe just getting an umbrella insurance policy could be a good route. And also, depending on what state you're in, it's not too expensive. I'm in Utah, so it's not super expensive to set up an LLC. But I've seen that it's more expensive, like in California or something. It can be, I think it was like $800 or something like that. So that's something you have to pay every year. So just take that into consideration when you are thinking about whether or not to put your properties under an LLC. Just what extra costs are involved and if it's worth it to do that. And, it might be if you plan on having a ton of properties. If I continue to grow my real estate empire, to, like 10 properties or more, then, I probably will end up switching them over to an LLC. But where I just have a couple right now, it just hasn't really made sense for me to do that. So So when you're asking that question, it just depends on what your goals are and where you're at right now. And just looking at the cost versus benefits. And, okay, so I want to go to the next question here. And this one is, where do I start with wealth building? I get this question a lot. People just they don't know where to begin. So they're just kind of lost, and, it keeps them stuck. So they don't know where exactly they should begin. And so I just wanted to kind of make this really simple for you. When you're wanting to start your wealth building strategy or your investing strategy, then you want to, start with a purpose in mind. So it makes it a lot easier when you have a clear purpose in mind. You know exactly what you're working toward, so you can create an actual plan to get there. If you're just saying, well, I know I should be investing, I want to start making more money, or, start having my money work for me, where should I begin with that? It's not really a clear purpose. And, you need to figure out where exactly you want to end up, what your goals are, what your priorities are. So then you can create a really easy plan to get there. And, you need to be specific with your purpose. So, just like we are talking about in the Financial Freedom Challenge that I'm doing right now, we're talking about achieving financial freedom, but we also are talking about why we want to achieve that, what is our purpose for doing that? And then also we're going to talk about, when we want to achieve financial freedom. So it's very specific. So it's not just kind of I want to make more money, it's more specific. So when you want to begin investing or, start your wealth building strategies, make sure you have a clear purpose. So, it could be, okay, I want to retire in 10 years, or, I want to start saving for my dream home, or, a vacation that you want to take. And then working backwards from there. So you can set, if you say, okay, I want $1 million in 10 years so I can be able to retire, or whatever it might be, right? You can start working backward from there and say, okay, in 5 years, I need to be, halfway there. And then just break it down even further. So kind of think, well, what are some ways that I could do that? I could buy, rental properties. I could invest in stocks, or, I can set up a Roth IRA. So, when you begin investing, start with the end in mind first, have that really clear purpose, and make it really specific and time bound so that you know exactly what you're working toward. And then you can choose the best investment vehicles in order to help you get there as soon as possible. So hopefully that makes sense. And also, going right along with this, when you set up your specific purpose, then, you have to believe that you can actually achieve it. And that's another thing we were talking about in the Financial Freedom Plan mini challenge. And if you're not registered for that, you can still register. It goes through Friday, and you can register at wealthytiffany.com/freedom challenge. So you can register for that, just as a side note. So if you, when you set your specific purpose, then you actually need to believe that you can achieve it. So we're going to talk about mindset. And that is the next topic, the next question that I had got. So, people often work on their mindset kind of backwards, I feel like. But here's what I believe. And I don't know, this is just something that really makes sense to me. Here, I want to just read this quote to you guys. And this is from Dallin H. Oaks. He says, "Desires dictate our priorities, priorities shape our choices, and choices determine our actions. The desires we act on determine our changing, our achieving, and our becoming." So that's kind of a lot of information. So I'm going to repeat that. Desires dictate our priorities. priorities shape our choices, and choices determine our actions. The desires we act on determine our changing, our achieving, and our becoming. So when we have a vision of what we can become, our desire and our power to act increase enormously. So just for an example, if we have a priority or a desire to achieve financial freedom, then we make that our priority. That becomes our top priority, and we start making choices that align with that to help us achieve that. And then once we make that choice, that is what determines our actions, right? So we first have that desire to, become financially free. And that is what dictates our priorities. So the things that we put first, right? And then once we have our priorities, then we start to make choices that align with that. And that is actually, what our actions, and then it turns into our actions, right? So for example, like I had said, if we do have that desire to achieve financial freedom, then we have that becomes our priority, right? And then we can think, okay, how can I get there? What choices can I make to help me achieve my truest, my deepest desire? And then we start acting on that. So we could think, okay, well, if that is what I really desire, then I need to start investing in rental properties, or I need to just start, managing my money better. Or I need to, set up a budget and start taking control of my money, instead of letting my money control me. So we start to have these thoughts in our heads, right? Because we want to achieve our desires. So we have to figure out what that true desire is. And that is what helps us with our mindset, knowing what we actually desire. Because once we have that, then our priorities start to fall into place. So if we do desire to achieve financial freedom, then, our priority is not going to be to buy, that cute pair of shoes that we just saw, or that cute dress at the store. It's going to be, okay, well, what can I do to help me achieve financial freedom? Maybe I can buy that investing book that I saw. Or I can invest in a course to help me get there. Or, I can just start researching about investing, right? And then we start making those choices. So, we actually do buy that book, right? And then once we bought the book, then, we've made that action and we actually start reading the book and we actually start learning about investing so that it can help us get our true desire. So when we have that mindset, when we actually know what we want, then we can start to move in that direction, and our mindset automatically does that for us because we know what we want. And then also adding our why to that. And I went over this pretty heavily in the Financial Freedom Plan Challenge. So we talked about why we wanted to achieve financial freedom, because that helps give us the motivation to be able to achieve financial freedom, to be able to achieve our truest desire. So, this whole mindset thing, I think people kind of, sometimes get stuck, and I've seen a lot of people, try to, start kind of backwards. They start with their limiting beliefs. Maybe they think that something is holding them back, and so they think they need to go back and, see, okay, well, what's holding me back? What are my limiting beliefs that I've had in the past? And, while that has worked for some, I really feel like if we are just focusing on what we truly desire, what our truest desires are, then our minds start to work to be able to achieve that, to actually reach that. And, part of that is just, if we are struggling, then, it's actually taking time out to meditate, to pray, to listen, and, start to kind of focus, just focus in and understand, that you can achieve what you want. And, ignore those limiting beliefs and actually focus on taking action toward what you really want instead of staying stuck in in the limiting beliefs that have been in your past. And, I'm not discrediting that. Like, some people, it really does help them, to do that. But I feel like for the majority, a lot of us, if we are just focusing on what we really want, then we start to have the mindset in order to get there. And, another thing that I wanted to talk about was, taking that time out to actually meditate and, figure out what it is we truly want, and then take time and ask, okay, what steps do I need to be taking in order to get there? Help me to, become better, to learn what I need to in order to get there. And then actually listening and being aware of, different opportunities that might show up and taking advantage of those, actually acting on opportunities that come your way. So that can be really helpful as well. And then another point with mindset is also focusing on the positive instead of the negative. So there's a ton of negative stuff in the world, right? We see it every day, especially on the news, right? There's always something bad that happened. But if we can just, take a second and realize when we're taking in negative thoughts, realize that we're doing that and think, okay, I don't need that in my life. Like, what's something positive that I can focus on? And, just to give another example, maybe you're trying to get out of debt right now. And so you're focusing on, okay, I really need to get out of debt. I need to pay this off. And it's just really stressing you out. And that's really all you can think about. I want you to kind of flip that and think, how can I build wealth? How can I, achieve financial freedom if that is one of your desires? And then work on a plan to do that instead of focusing on, oh, how can I get out of this debt and just being so stressed about it. Try to flip that mindset to the positive side and say, okay, how can I build wealth? Well, okay, I can set up a plan to, make these certain payments and, wipe out this debt. And then, after that, I can start, building up my emergency fund. And then after that, I can, open a brokerage account and start investing in stocks. And then, after that, I can buy a rental property and, and then just build up from there. So, it's really just kind of taking a step back when you're feeling really stressed or, really bogged down and really negative, just taking a step back and thinking, okay, I can turn this into a positive. Like, what is it that I really want? Going back to our desire, right? And then focusing on a plan to get there. So, and we don't need to know every action step right now. That will come as we go along, as we're, meditating, as we're praying, as we're listening for the answers, right? And taking advantage of opportunities that come along. So, but it's just, making that mental shift of trying to turn things to the positive rather than focusing so much on the negative. And, another way to help with mindset is to really focus on things that you're grateful for. So you have a lot of blessings and sometimes we overlook those a lot. I know, like I overlook it all the time too. And, if we actually focus on the blessings that we've already received, then we can continue to receive more blessings. Once we recognize those and we're thankful for those, it really helps us to get ourselves in a mindset of abundance instead of that lack or scarcity mindset. So you can even start a gratitude journal. You can start by just writing down 2 things you're grateful for that day. And then the next day you can start writing 3. And then the next day 4. Whatever helps you to focus more on the abundance and, the great blessings that you do have. That can really help your mindset as well. And that really turns it to the positive side of things. And, as you create your gratitude journal, then you can always refer back to that when you're having a rough day. You'll instantly have a ton of blessings that are already there that you can be like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for my car, for my home, for my health, from my mom, my dad, my spouse, whatever it might be. And it can just be something so simple like the breath that you're able to take, right, on your own. There's just so many things to be grateful for. And when we start realizing that, it really makes a difference, and it really helps us focus on the positive in life. And that helps us become, happier people. And it helps us really believe that, yes, we've been blessed so much. Why can I not have more blessings that I desire, that I truly desire? So that is what I wanted to talk to you guys about today. And those are the questions that I wanted to answer today. So hopefully those are helpful. And, like I said, if you have more questions, then you can post them beneath this video, or you can send an email to Tiffany@wealthytiffany.com, and then I can answer them in the upcoming videos. So we're going to do another Wealth Wisdom Wednesday next Wednesday at the same time, 3 p.m. And I'm excited to do this and excited to answer questions that you guys have. And I will, see you guys in the next video. All right, thank you.